Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to the Winning at Being You podcast. I'm your host, Coach Mills Rogers. This is a space where we have real conversations with people who are using their voice, their experiences, and their purpose to create impact, not just for themselves, but for others. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Timothy TalkManTalk Stewart. We're going to talk about leadership, transformation, and what it actually looks like to win at being who you are without pretending or performing. If you're watching live, feel free to drop where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's get into it. Timothy Stewart, aka TalkManTalk, is an author, speaker, coach, and recovery advocate whose work focuses on helping people free themselves from destructive patterns and discover purpose. Timothy regularly leads seminars and presentations geared toward audiences big and small on topics related to addiction, recovery, leadership, goal setting, and personal development. Unafraid to share details of his own personal battles with addiction, pain, and loss, Tim connects on a deep level with others because, quote unquote, he's been there. His captivating style and ability to shine light on life's possibilities, delivered from having hit rock bottom, make him a sought-after guest at a variety of events. He is also the author of Free Yourself from Yourself and the creator of Unlock Your Greatness course. So Timothy, TalkManTalk, so glad to have you this morning.
So glad to be here, Coach Mills. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And so TalkManTalk, for people who may be hearing you for the first time, who is Timothy Stewart? And what life experiences most shaped the man you are today?
Man Talk to aka Talk, and I did that because I discovered it was my gift. That is who I have come, and that's my purpose. And you know, Coach Mills, when I was launching my course, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, telling him I spent 2 years on getting this course prepared. And he said something that was very interesting to answer your question. He said, no, you've been working on this course for 60 some years, because I'm 60 some years old, right? And so all of my life experiences have played a vital role in who I am and who I am becoming. I take nothing for every time I revisit a situation or a scenario, there's a lesson in it. Somewhere there's a lesson in it.
Yes, sir. And so those lessons, what were some major lessons that I guess contributed to your course and to your current purpose?
Yes. My purpose as TalkManTalk, I speak to inspire, motivate, and educate people from every walk, focusing on 12 principles to inner peace and common unity for happier, healthier, safer communities in which to live, work, and play. That's how I live, right? Every day, my focus is on how can I help individuals find inner peace, and also use the 12 principles that I practice, coach, and promote to create common unity, in our communities.
Now, I was looking at your website and looking at some of your materials, looking at your TikTok, and I know that you're real big on free yourself from yourself. What does that mean?
Well, after going through rehab, I spent 25 years addicted to an active addiction to drugs and alcohol. And after going through 12 rehabs, Coach Mills, what I've really come to realize is that I was the one that was keeping myself trapped. It wasn't what happened to me, it wasn't the situations, the circumstances, the people, places, or things. It was me constantly making the decision to pick that up and put that in me. And I had to realize that I was my worst enemy. That's a hard realization to accept. I became my worst enemy. And so I had to free myself from myself. So there was learning and I was traditions that I was taught and practiced that no longer served me and the purpose, that I was created for. And so I basically had to free myself from myself. And that's how that book was birthed. Took me 5 years to write that book. 5 years. I quit twice, but I couldn't not finish the book. And the book is set up. It's a memoir in the beginning, and then the second part of it is like a self-help component embedded in it. So I tell my story. I get very transparent with my story. And then I show how I use these 12 principles of honesty, hope, faith, courage, integrity, willingness, humility, discipline, forgiveness, acceptance, awareness, and gratitude. How I use those 12 principles to change my life.
And so, with those 12 principles, is there one that you feel is, I guess, more important than the other, or of higher importance, or of the highest importance?
It's the first one. They're all important, but it must start with the first one. That's one of the things, Coach Mills, that I had to do was I had to get honest. For so many years, I lied to myself, right? And I denied the fact that I was an addict. I did not want to accept that term because it felt like defeat, right? And I'm a competitor, man. I've always been a competitor. I guess that's why I went to rehab 12 times because I was like, this thing is not going to beat me. But after 12 times, like, maybe you might look at me, right? And I say that kind of jokingly, but what I realized, Coach Mills, is that the drugs and the alcohol were not the problem, right? I had been fighting the wrong thing. I was fighting the symptom. And we see that in our society today. A lot of the programs and processes, they address the symptom, but not the root cause. See, um, uh, if my hand has a pain in it, that is not the problem. That's an indication that there is a problem, right? And so when I really understood that concept is when I started, to really make some progress, in regards to becoming a responsible, productive member of society, and free from active addiction. The 30th of April will be 22 years for me.
Congratulations. And so I know you have the Unlock Your Greatness program, and you said that honesty is probably number one. And so in that program, you're probably not dealing with people that have struggled with addiction so much, because I think it's geared more towards students. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, right? Okay.
No, that
And
is
so,
correct.
yeah.
It's, you know, what here's what I found, Coach Mills. So what I found out is the same 12 principles that I discovered to save my life are the same principles that can help anyone make a difference in their life. Because when we really look at what is happening in our society and our future generations, there's a couple things going on. Number one, the greatest enemy is division. That's the greatest enemy we have in our communities is division. And number two, as a life coach, I know you know this. You've been doing this thing for a long time. I've been watching you and following you and learning from you, right? The people the number one issue that people suffer with is they don't know who they are. They don't know why they're here. I didn't know what I to know my purpose. Then I can't identify my source of significance, my sense of value, right? If I don't know my value, when somebody say hit this, then I'll hit that. Or sit this, I'll sit that. But when I know my value and I know that will take away from my value, I can say, no, I'll pass on that. So I took these same 12 principles and I've applied them to everyday life. They're the same 12 principles that took somebody like me crawling on the floor, looking for crack rocks, living on an animalistic level to now becoming a responsible, productive member of society. If those principles can help me leave that state of living, then it can certainly help our people in our generation. Because when we see a young student, a young person attack an educator, a teacher, and we've been seeing that and a lot of the chaos we see on college campuses and the opioid epidemic, the violence, the suicide rates, all of these traumatic occurrences that happen in our society, it all boils down to not knowing who we are. That is the root cause.
When did you discover who you were? When did the light click? Well, come on.
That's a great 45 years old, man. I was 45 years old before I really discovered what my gift is. And see, here's what I learned, Coach Mills. Everybody and everything was created for a purpose. Everything is created for a purpose. With I call this functional laws that govern our behavior. Right? Law is the creation. And so that's what the foundation of what I coach and I practice and I coach. I live this. I didn't just hear about it. I didn't just read about it. I live this. And I can look someone in the eye and let them know confidently whether you're on the right path. Success is predictable. We know that. If the gas needle says E and you don't put any gas in that automobile, you're gonna be sitting side the road. But pull into a gas station, put some gas in it. Success is predictable.
I like that. I like that analogy. And so I know that, I've seen your post and you're very big on spiritual principles. So how have spiritual principles shaped your recovery and your message?
Well, principles are, let me tell you something, Coach Mills. I am so proud and grateful to to practice these principles, to have come into the understanding of them. And I, this is going to sound crazy, but if it had not been for crack, I may not have found these principles. But what I discovered, because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, was that all of life is founded on law. There's nothing that doesn't function by law. Everything. If you put paint on the wall, there's a process, a law that governs how to put paint on the wall, right? Fixing a car, everything functions by law. And a principle, here's what I found about principles and why I'm so passionate about them. They take interpretation out. Like, remember, I said we have a lot of division in our communities. Well, we have, between politics and religion, there's so many directions, all of that a person can reach. But with the principles, number one, they are in creation. Nobody makes principles. Our creator created principles. They are built in, like already in it. A fish would swim already in it. Life on this planet comes with these principles already in it. They will work anywhere. New York, LA, Japan, the principles will work anywhere they are used. Number three, they are non-partial. They do not apply for specific people. Doesn't matter. Black, white, green, red, whatever, tall, short, the principles are the same. And Coach Mills, they are permanent. They won't ever change, right? So what I learned to do is I can filter my decisions, because life really is a series of decisions. Filter my decisions through these principles, then I can get positive results. Because remember, success is predictable, right? And that's what has changed my life. These principles, it doesn't matter what a person's title is, or where they are as far as their status. If they don't operate with the principle of integrity, they stink.
So
It's like taking
I know
a
you
bath.
said,
If you don't take a bath, you stink.
and so what does it take, I guess, as far as cleaning up so that you don't stink?
So at first, it takes getting exposed to these principles, right, and then getting an understanding, right, of how to apply them. There's a lot of times, and I know you hear this, Coach Mills. A lot of times we hear people who can articulate problems very eloquently. They can even articulate what needs to be done. But very rarely do you hear someone say how. Here's how you do it, right? And so that's what my program, Unlock Your Greatness, is. It takes these 12 principles and unpacks them to where you get an understanding so that you can apply them in your life every day. And so that is the premises of what I live for, is to promote, practice, and promote and coach these 12 principles. Because, coach, they are valid in every room: the boardroom, the locker room, the living room, the classroom, even the bedroom. I can take one set of principles, one program, and apply them in every area of my life, and they work. I'm a living witness, and I've seen these principles work in the lives of thousands of people all across the world.
So what if I'm that person that's kind of like, man, I don't know, man. You keep saying that this works, but I'm just not sold on it. And so what would you tell somebody like me that had their reservations about your program?
Well,
even though I might be.
I would say this. Uh-huh. Here's what I would say is practice it for 90 days. You know, gain an understanding, because I guarantee these principles will work. I didn't make them. I didn't create them. It's like gravity. Does gravity not, when does gravity not work?
It always works.
Because gravity is a principle. Laws always work. It's the violation, but the laws always work.
So I know you have the opportunity to work with a lot of young people nowadays, and oftentimes we see young people struggling with purpose and confidence. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're having so many struggles with that nowadays?
Because we've gotten away from the connection where, I grew up in a village, right? And we all have villages, but now the village has changed. And what the village helped us do is identify what we would be good at, right? See, when I told you I discovered my gift at 45, I had an epiphany at the same time. And I remembered being back in first, second, and third grade, Coach Mills, and I stayed in trouble all the time. Being sent to the chalkboard to put my nose in a circle, my hands behind my back. Guess what I stayed in trouble for?
Talking.
Talking in class. That's exactly right. I stayed in trouble for talking. So I had the gift when I landed here. And I think that is a big part of the problem is we don't have the family structure or the village to help young people identify what their gift is. Because see, when a person identifies their gift, like I said, it becomes a source of significance. Okay, so now I know why I'm here. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like Tiger Woods, you'll find. I share it like this: success, the desire to be successful, is inherent in the human spirit. Period. Everybody wants to be successful. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so most people don't. Most people don't. Yep. And most people don't know the formula for success. But here's the formula for success. It's the same for 8 billion people on planet Earth. Discover your gift, train that gift, and then serve that gift to the world. That's going to give any human being the greatest degree of fulfillment in life. Period. Because that is purpose fulfilled. Now the world is going to pay us when we serve them our trained gift, like Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan. See, we can be like Mike. We can certainly be like Mike. You remember those commercials? You can be like Mike in your area of gifting. Everything comes to this planet with a gift trapped inside of it. Everybody. So when we help our young people identify their gift, they'll have some sense of significance, and it's a source for their value. Now, I don't want to destroy myself because I know why I'm here. I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, one of the things I notice with working with young people, and I know it comes from the parents, but oftentimes when we think of gifts for young people, they seem to fall into two categories: entertainment and sports. And so I've always wondered, like, how do we really help kids find their gifts outside of those areas? Because sometimes, like what you mentioned for yourself, and even for myself, I didn't recognize until I had a gift or calling much later in life. And so again, I feel like in our society, it oftentimes for kids, it boils down to, hey, can you sing? Can you dance? Play an instrument or whatever, or can you play athletics? And so, yeah, I'm like, what are your thoughts on that? And, helping direct kids maybe outside of just those things.
Well, here's the thing: when we, as parents and as the part of the village, help young person identify their gift, right? We have to let them know how valuable that gift is to our society. We were all given a gift to bring into our generation, right? And we have to help them uncover how valuable that is. Your gift is not for you, it's for other people. Every gift is significant. Every gift is significant. My brother struggled with that. I was always pretty smart, AB student. He struggled with academia, right? But he was so gifted, like he could take things apart, put them back together. He became an A1 painter, home improvement stuff. Man, I can't do that stuff. I cannot do that. Right? Give me a microphone, stand me from 3,000 people, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll get down like James Brown. But man, you put a paintbrush in my hand, your wall gonna be messed up. And he struggled with that. But my mom and dad helped him realize how valuable that was. And so then he turned it around and he created his own company, right? And he started making a lot of money. See, at that point, he was no longer employed, he was now deployed.
Looks like you might be frozen.
Am I here now?
Yes, now I got you. I think you're frozen again. So when you speak to people, what are they most amazed by related to your story? Like what stands out to them?
I think I think the fact that I was able to overcome, you know, the lifestyle that I was living. Coach Mills, there's a lot of people um, that didn't make it from where I came from, and a lot of people who see other people struggling. It kind of gives people hope, right? To say, hey, somebody else did make it out. There's a story about the person who jumped 6 feet with the high jump the first time somebody did that. Like for 50 years, nobody had ever jumped 6 feet, right, in the high jump. Once one person did it, the next 3 years, 10 people did it.
Right?
So it's a message. My lifestyle is a message of hope.
What question do you get asked the most about about your lifestyle and that change, that transformation?
Uh, Most of the time, it's like, how did you get started? You know, what started you on that path? And for me, it was, I was introduced to marijuana at 12 years old, and the marijuana helped me develop a mindset of how to escape anything that didn't go right or hurt me any kind of way. It was smoke some weed, and that's what allowed me to get through it. I didn't learn how to analyze situations and make intelligent decisions. And the weed escalated to cocaine and then on to crack. So that was, I guess one of the questions I get the most is, how did you get started?
Mhm. What do you want people to carry with them after hearing your story?
I would want people to understand that, it starts with us. Um, Most importantly, Coach Mills, that everybody is a leader. See, we've been under this philosophy of certain people were chosen to be leaders, but not in the 21st century. 21st century leadership looks different, and we accept the responsibility in our area of gift, right? And leadership is defined as uh, say again.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. So I define leadership as the capacity to influence others through inspiration generated by a vision that was birthed by a conviction of discovering your purpose, right? I want everybody who's listening to say, you know what, I'm a leader, train my gift so that I can serve my gift to the world, and that will allow me to live the most fulfilled life. A, per- a person who is miserable can't transmit peace.
True. Very true.
And Coach Mills, I I really applaud your work and what you do. And I know people who may not be in your shoes, they don't see the hours of preparation that it takes to do what you do. So I applaud your work, right? We do the similar type of work, and that's what we have to do. We have to have shows like this where we come together in unity, right? And we can reach more people the more we have in common. McDonald's is the most successful restaurant on the planet, but they don't even have the best food for human consumption. No offense, McDonald's, but you
True.
know,
But it's true.
but they are the most successful because they have, you can buy a Big Mac in LA, fly to New York and get a Big Mac, and it's the same. These principles I promote, they're the same in New York and LA.
That's a great analogy, and yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That principles will work anywhere. You have to have principles.
Anywhere.
And yeah, anywhere. And so talk, man, talk. Man, I appreciate all the wisdom and everything that you've shared with us. We've had some technical difficulties and everything, and I would love to have you come back on, and maybe we could work those things out so the message can be more be smoother and everything. Yeah, because I know sometimes
I don't know
the
what
flow.
happened if my
Because I really want people to be able to hear it really good, and
I don't know what happened.
Uninterrupted and everything. So yeah, definitely. Hey, technology, man. It work when it works well. It's super useful. When it doesn't, it's like, oh man. So again, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience and everything.
Let's come back and do it again, man. Let's make sure we do this again. When we get, I don't know what happened. My internet seems to be running fine. I am on a new device. My old device went down 3 days ago, and I got a new device. I don't know if that's the issue, but I would certainly welcome the opportunity to come back and be on your show again.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do it again. And so again, like I said, I mean, there's definitely some great takeaways from it. I just know sometimes when things get a little choppy technology wise, it can, it kind of takes away from it sometimes, and I wouldn't want that, at all. So again, I really, really appreciate you coming on. Talk, man, talk. Great name. I love that name, Talk, Man, Talk. And so yeah, we're going to definitely come back and do this again because you have a great story, and I know that it's super impactful for those that are chiming in and listening in.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your work as well.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and all right. So with that being said, change happens one person at a time, 1 second at a time. Let's go.